Hello everybody, welcome to CGTN's Facebook page. I'm Silkina Ahluwalia. I'm in an area right now that is very heavily affected by the floods in Jakarta. As you can see, it is up to my knee here. I'm going to try and walk really slowly because I don't want to trip on something that I obviously cannot see. Okay, there's a cockroach right in front of me. I'm going to try to get away from that. All right, so we've had very bad rainfall in Jakarta and the surrounding cities over the past few days, and this is the result of that. As you can see, there are people that are still living in this area, although some of them have been evacuated. And you know, heavy rainfalls and flooding is unfortunately quite common here in Indonesia, especially here in Jakarta. You know, at the end of last year, we also had a pretty bad rainfall that basically shut down the entire city for a few hours. And I have my phone here with me, so if you have any questions and you want to make any comments, let me know, and I will try to go through all of your comments as I go through this flood here. All right, so as you can see next to me, these are all homes of residents here in an area. It's called Kampung Melayu. Ooh, okay. Oh, I'm stepping on something. Okay. All right. Bear with me. Trying to go really slow here. Okay. So our city administration is working really hard in the past few years to make sure something like this can be solved permanently, because it is very common here in Jakarta. And, you know, these people that are staying by the river is just over to that side. They are the ones that are most at risk, because when the water in the river rises, trying to figure out what I'm kicking here. You know, when the water levels rise to dangerous levels, this is usually what happens to their residential areas. So we know right now that 11,000 people have been evacuated out of this area and also surrounding areas. And the reason for that is because most of the homes that are by the river have been completely destroyed. And so authorities have set up evacuation camps across the city, across 12 districts across the city, to make sure that those that do not have a home anymore, they can be comfortable in temporary shelters. Woo. Okay, I'm going to try and open the CGTN page so I can read some of your comments. Okay, it's getting a little bit above my knee here. I think it's getting a little bit higher here. Oh, I'm gonna make sure that I... So we know that over 7,000 families, more than 7,000 families have been evacuated. And they are now in temporary shelters across 12 districts here in Jakarta. And authorities just want to make sure that those people that have had their homes destroyed, that they are comfortable in temporary shelters. Okay. So this area here is called Kampung Melayu, and this is one of the areas that authorities have listed as an area that is most likely to be very heavily flooded, and more additional floods could come in the coming days. This area here is generally very heavily monitored, but in general, the National Disaster Mitigation Agency has called everybody across the city of Jakarta to stay alert. I don't know if you can come and see this side, but there's a lot of, I think the water is definitely up to your waist going down that side. So we're not going to try to walk through those areas. So most of this water is coming from Bogor, West Java. and one of the dams over there called the Katulampa Dam, when there's heavy rainfalls, what happens is those that particular dam actually overflows, and that water comes down to the river that is just opposite this housing area. Oh, step on something. We also know, I have a guide here that's telling me where to go and not to go so I don't fall into a random hole. We also know that as of yesterday, these 11,000 residents that are spread over 12 areas in East, South, and West Jakarta have been evacuated because, this area may look relatively okay compared to the ones, the homes that are completely destroyed and submerged in waters. And, the destruction that we've seen are not only these floods. We have actually seen electricity poles falling into water. We have seen train tracks, rail bridges destroyed. I mean, the residents here are really making use of the water as much as they can, even though, as you can see, it's very unhygienic. I'm trying not to look at what is on the surface of this water because it has all sorts of stuff. We have trash, and we also have all sorts of cockroaches here. All right, gonna try not to trip. Yep, I think something stuck on my shoe. So we have seen several landslides occur as a result of this heavy rainfall. Ooh, what was that? And to anticipate more additional floods, the Jakarta administration has actually prepared over 450 water pumps to make sure that they can get this water out of this residential area as fast as possible. These residents have been here in this condition for at least 5 days. We have had a lot of rainfall, heavy rainfall almost all day, all night for the past 1 week. And we are actually considered lucky this morning because for the past few days we have seen really, really heavy rainfall. But this morning, it's a little bit, this morning it's actually sunny after 1 week. It's been just constant rainfall and flooding for the past 1 week. And authorities are actually expecting it to get even worse towards the end of February. So they are definitely making sure that all of these residents that are living here and residents that are in the temporary shelters are well taken care of. All right, so I'm going to take you to the source of where this water is coming from, which is the river. Ada tangga nggak di sini? Okay. Just want to make sure that I don't fall into any stairs. Yeah. Sini?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Makasih. All right, so I'm going to take you to the river, the source of that flood that we just saw. It's actually quite sunny today, which is it's a very rare occasion, especially what we've seen in the past 10 days. It's been raining just constantly all day, all night. And so this is the river that I was talking about. So this river directly connects to the dam in Bogor, West Java. And when that dam overflows, the water actually travels through here. And some of these, the source of the water that we saw back there, it actually came from the pipes in a lot of these residents' homes. So there's really no way out of it. So public transportation have suffered through all this as well, as you can imagine. Trains have been canceled because landslides went as far to the tracks, forcing the trains to stop operations. Rescue operations are working all day, all night, to make sure that there are nobody buried under the rubble or any of the destruction that this heavy rainfall and landslides have caused. But authorities say at least 5 people have died in the landslides. So rescue operations are definitely still ongoing. But I mean, as you can imagine, it is quite difficult, especially with the rain that we have been having. So I'm just going to take you through the area outside of this village. This area also saw a little bit of flooding in the past few days, but it has dried up since a little bit. It's still heavily covered in mud and a lot of trash as well, and it's going to take time for the authorities and also people to help clean this area up. All right, so I'm going to try and read some of your comments if you have any questions. So Jakarta has actually been doing pretty well in the past few years. 5 to 6 years ago, even in the heart of the city, in central Jakarta, it would be heavily flooded up to your knee. But now we're only seeing in certain areas. So in that in that area, we have seen a little bit of improvements, but obviously not good enough, because there are still people that are heavily affected by heavy rainfall. So our city administration has to work really hard to find a way to find a permanent solution so this doesn't happen every year. I mean, 11,000 people were forced to leave their homes because of heavy rainfall and flooding, and that that shouldn't be okay, and that should prompt the government and the authorities to quickly find a permanent solution to this. So there are a lot of police and a lot of authorities that are in this area as well, just to make sure that the residents around this area are okay, and if they need any help, these authorities can get to them as fast as possible. Yes, this is in Kampung Melayu, Jakarta. So I know that you can see some residents that are still in their homes, but many of them from this area have evacuated as well. And usually they do come back to their house in the morning or in the afternoon just to make sure that everything is okay, that their belongings are okay. But really, they don't sleep in their house at night just because it's not safe, especially if it rains really, really heavy at night. They want to make sure that they are not at home for that, just in case anything happens. Like I mentioned before, a lot of the houses that are by the river have been heavily, heavily affected, and they are not safe at home. And so those people that have had their houses affected, they have had to evacuate, and almost 11,000 of them have evacuated. I think in this area it's a little bit harder for us to walk through because it's up to your waist, so we're not gonna try and walk through those waters. Okay, I think what I'm seeing here right now is one of the water pumps that are being used to get all of the water out from this particular lane here. And this is what the authorities are constantly doing here every single day, just to make sure that they can dry up these areas as fast as possible. There are around 450 pumps that are across the entire city, and this is just one of them that have been deployed by the city administration of Jakarta. It's still very, very muddy here. The ground is thick with mud. And you know, rescue operations are on the way almost 24/7, but it's just very difficult when it comes at night, because there's just a lot of rain during the night usually, and that does hamper rescue operations. As you can see, there are a lot of people working here to make sure that these areas here, especially, which is one of the worst hit places, that they can be dried up as soon as possible, because these residents have been living in, you know, these waters up to your waist and up to your knees for about 5 days. And so authorities are just making sure that they can get to them as fast as possible. And as you can see, the ground is really, really thick with mud. This area was flooded as well, but I think in the past 12 hours it hasn't rained, so it had the chance to dry up a little bit. All right, so maybe we'll take you a little bit over there to kind of show you the situation in front, but mostly to my right here, the water is up to your waist and really difficult to navigate through. You can see the rescuers working as well over there. They are from the city administration of Jakarta, and they're just helping to clean up this area to make sure that they can get all of the trash out, especially as you can see, there's a lot of trash that are floating on the surface. And these men are just working to help clear that out before they pump the water out of this area into the river. We know that at least 7,000 families have been evacuated, and a total of 11,000 people have taken temporary shelters, and the authorities have set up evacuation camps in 12 different districts in East, West, and South Jakarta. So they do want to make sure that those people that don't have homes anymore, you know, their homes are completely submerged in water, because these are the people that live directly by the river, and so they are the most at risk, because when those waters from the river rises, they are immediately impacted, and most of their homes are, you know, made out of wood, and so it is much easier to be swept away by water, unfortunately. So that is one of the reasons why the Jakarta administration is working hard to rebuild a lot of the homes by the river and also by the slums, to make sure that when heavy rainfalls like this happens, the residents are not threatened. As you can see, it's really, really thick with mud here, and you can tell that it was, you know, it was flooded a couple of days back. It has just dried out here in the past 12 hours. All right, so we're just gonna keep walking to the front. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me here. I am reading all of your comments. If you have any comments, you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them. Oh, you can see that the houses below are completely submerged in water. Okay, I'm gonna try. not to fall. Careful. So if you can see, nope, it's too muddy. If you can see, look at that house over there. It is mostly half of it is completely submerged in water, and the houses next to it as well. I mean, you can tell that if you walk through these waters, it is definitely up to your waist, and for some even up to your neck. Right, so that area, as you can see, it is up to your waist there. And, you know, as you can see, this is somebody's home, and, you know, it is way above your waist there. I'm going to try and show you guys that. All these houses that you are seeing in front of me, they are all above the waist, and it's very, very, very muddy here. Now, this is going to take a few days for the authorities to pump the water out of this area. As you can see, there's a fence over there as well to my left, and that is almost completely submerged in water. You know, we are in front of this man's house, and it is almost absolutely submerged in these floodwaters. And this is a result of just constant rain for the past 7 to 10 days, almost all day, all night. It's just been raining really, really heavily, and that has caused the river that's near this residential area to overflow. Oh, somebody is asking when the rain began, how many days did it continue? For the past 7 to 10 days, like I said, we have had continuous rainfall almost all day, all night. I have not seen sunshine for at least the past 7 days. So today is a very, very rare occasion, but it's still going to take some time for the rescue team and also authorities to pump the water out of these surrounding areas. As you saw earlier, where we walked, it was up to our knees, and in some areas it is also up to your waist. All right, so I think that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as usual, stay tuned to CGTN to get the latest updates from around the globe. Bye, I'll see you next time.